Hmm. So good morning, Black women. This morning I was listening to a live with one of my favorite women, and the ENT, right? And I was listening to her conversation with many of the other women's conversations where they were talking about how this country is pushing patriarchy and control of the masses once again by religious beliefs and indoctrination of these so-called inherited male rights to women in servitude, little girl, sexual pleasures, all due to how they're trying to stoke the fires of insecurities and fear and no purpose in males, starting as young as teenagers in middle school, pubescence, all the way up to young adults. So the conversation basically was them talking about what and how women can survive, what they could do to protect themselves and their daughters, and I would add in how they should indoctrinate their sons, and I use that word specifically for mothers to understand that if you really, really want all this type of craziness to stop and for this never ever to rear its head again, and I take this seriously what I'm about to say because I know that these white people come on here, watch our videos, and they plan strategies around what they hear us say. So always keep that in mind, right? You have to indoctrinate your boys into understanding that they cannot participate in the patriarchy of this world. They have to have respect for women and understand that they are in no way superior to women, and that if they want to have any of these conditioned relationships where they feel like, when I say conditioned, this is societally conditioned, where they put this mass thought out here to brainwash dudes into feeling entitled to women, that if you have to teach your sons that if at any time, right, they want to have any type of real contentment, not happiness, but contentment with women, right? They have to understand that you cannot be the so-called traditional, and traditional in the sense of believing what white people tell you that religion dictates you are entitled to, because religion is not real. It is something that white people created to control the slaves, to control colonization of people that are not like them, and to continue their reign of white supremacy. When people are more occupied with assimilating into whiteness, white cultural behaviors like the single, that nuclear family shit, and believing in these stratifications or levels in society where certain people are at the bottom, and as you work your way to the top, it's always men of different colors, and the top being the white man. When you teach your sons and your daughters, but most importantly your sons, because these are the ones that when women's rights are being taken away, the sons that have the minds that actually care about civility, equality, justice, and women's rights and women's freedom, they'll be the biggest advocates for women outside of women themselves. So you got to teach your sons, right? The way that this world works, in trying to make you feel like you're only a man if you are not acting like a slave master to a woman or a girl, is completely wrong, inherently wrong, right? And the only thing that comes out of trying to force women and girls into submission and doing things in life that they don't want to do is the end game, you not having any women at all, everybody dying out, which will take some time, but it will happen. Because what women will start to do is they will begin to stop having children, even though people try to force them. Women are not stupid. We know how to poison ourselves. We know how to poison our bodies so that our bodies do not have the ability to reproduce, do not have the ability to be used like they used Adriana Smith by literally making her a human incubator. Shit is real simple. We could take different herbs every day and teas that make our bodies infertile. So that way that we could never have children, no matter how many machines they hook us up to, how many times people try to rape us, it will never happen. And black women, these things are easy to learn if you start studying the different flowers that actually poison and kill people. Those type of things, like Orlander and other types of flowers like that, as well as different poisons that come from snakes and toads, can make women immediately fertile. Okay? And then there are other poisons you could always carry or hold on you, like in mojo bags, so that, you know, if you're sick, like in Adriana's case, and she wasn't getting no real assistance, and she has to go to the hospital, your family, or if you have the energy to allow you to swallow that, will make your body so toxic that there will be no baby that can survive in that body, and there will be no organs that can be taken from that body that can be used. When you're dealing with people that are trying to enslave you, you have to think above them and cancel their end goal. Their end goal is to always get you to do what you don't want to do against your will. So you have to stop that from happening, whether you're alive or dead, and that is the way you win. And with women, they are only interested in our wounds, so we make our wounds dysfunctional. If they feel like, okay, we can't use her wound, we'll take her organs, you make your body so toxic that they can't even use that, so that you become completely useless to them. That defeats the whole machine that they have going in this country and throughout this whole world. Okay? So now getting back to the sons. So when you raise sons and you get out of this whole mindset of being religiously indoctrinated and believing that a man is superior to you just because you're a woman, and you start understanding that women most definitely raise men, boys to be men every day. And most of those men that are raised to be productive men come from single parent households. You have a lot, yes, that do come from two parent households, but for the majority of people in the black community, since black males are so very violent in our households to the women and children, and they have to leave, you are fully able to raise boys to men. You have to understand that it takes a lot of discipline on your part and committing to a routine and having such a high level of self-esteem, commitment, and confidence that you realize that your mission, your goal to raise children, both boys and girls, that are completely functional in this society, where your daughter has the mindset from a young age, you're teaching her about grooming, you're teaching her about how these dudes will prey on her, and if they get a hold of her, what she is to do, to speak out loudly, not only to you, but to officials, so that those people can literally pay the legal price of facing statutory rape or endangerment to a child. Whatever the charge is, they face it with the full extent of the law. Okay? Then with your sons, you are to teach your sons also that predatory behavior towards women and girls is not to be accepted or associated with. And it does not matter who that person is. If it's their father, their brother, their grandfather, their uncle, their best friend, if this person does nothing but degrade black women the way we see them doing on this particular app and every other, you are to teach your sons that is not the type of people you want to pick up any personality traits from or be like in any way. Now this is real life, so it's going to be times when your children may have to be around these people due to visitation or different types of custody orders. If that is the case, then you'll teach your child independent thought, okay? And the dismissal of negative and toxic masculinity. That is what you got to teach your kid. Like you have to, and I'm telling you from speaking from experience. I have 3 sons. I had to deal with 2 different fathers from 2 different marriages, boyfriends, and all this other shit that I had in my life where my sons were exposed to that bullshit. And I had to teach them every day, and I mean literally drill it into them. The way you treat women is like this. Son, this is what you do. Son, this is what you do not do. Son, this is what you allow. Son, this is what you don't allow. Son, this is what you say, son. This is what you do, son. You have to keep doing that to them every single day of their life until they are a grown man. And believe me, you will see them through the ages of like teenagehood when they start to change a little bit, go through puberty. And with boys have an issue when they go through puberty because the more testosterone that builds in their body, they tend to get a little bit more violent during adolescence. But if you, as black women, take your job as a parent as seriously as I took mine, you're all the time reading about child development. You're reading different books on, like I'm looking over at my library because I have several books that I used to read when both sets of my children were younger. I read about their infancy stages, young child, pubescent stage, adolescent stage, young adult stage. I always read, right? I read, like, it was one particular author that I really liked back in the days. I don't know if he makes books anymore or if you could get them, but he specifically made books about little black boys. His name was Kawanza Kunjufu. I don't know if you can find him, but there are other credible authors out there that make tons of books about little black boys and their age development. For the little black girls, I read specific psychology books because what I learned was that there are no authors or doctors that specifically did any studies on the development, particularly specifically on little black girls. So being a black woman who was a black girl, I just read the psychology, both the regular psychology books and the abnormal psychology books, to understand different things that I saw in my child that may have been problematic or may have been the beginning of a small insecurity. And I built off of that. I did the things that they suggested in the book to identify the problem. Now, I wasn't always right. I would have to speak to the child and ask them, are these some of the things you're feeling or experiencing? And if it was, fine. If it wasn't, I'd have to read more, do a little more research by reading more, and also speak to professional people. I did that. I used to, everybody has insurance. So I would call up the helpline for it's the suicide hotline. I don't know if you could do it anymore, but when my kids were younger, you could call up if people showed any type of signs of like self-harm and stuff like that. And they didn't have to be doing that. But what you could do is call up and say, I'm concerned with my child. They're showing this type of symptom, or they're doing this, and I'm worried. Can you tell me if this is one of the things that I should, whatever. Sometimes they will do that. If they don't want to do that, you could just talk to these people and just like vent to them if that's what you want to do. And you could also literally take your child to either a child psychologist or a child psychiatrist or a therapist. And that way, but you a lot of times want to sit in on those sessions, because the reality of this is, what I'm telling you is, none of this shit is foolproof. All of these things have quirks in them and have glitches in the system where it is not perfect. And you need to sit in with your children when any adult is talking to them, licensed or not, because whoever that person is, they hold, whether they're licensed professional or a person on the street, they all hold individual biases, prejudices, and implicit bias from their own lives, their own childhoods. And there's several books. One I read by Dr. Omar Hutchinson, who's a black man who wrote about the racism in psychiatry. So all of these things really exist. So when you're out here trying to get help, you're trying to learn, you're trying to help your kid, you got to keep all of this in mind. And when something don't feel right to you, it don't sound right to you, then it's not right. unless they can expand on that where it makes sense and you understand it and you can see that it's actually making a positive change in your kid, then you go for it. If not, you say we're going to reroute, we're going to try something else, or just get another person altogether if that's what you need to do, because everybody is not good for everybody. And what I've learned, like when I took cultural diversity in college, when you have white licensed professionals when it comes to mental health, you always have to look out for their passive aggressiveness, their implicit bias towards you, and the fact that they will never be able to understand your reality because they're coming from a mindset and a platform of privilege where they do not understand you. A lot of them harbor hatred towards you and they're masking and disguising it. So it would benefit you if you could get a therapist that is either like you, understands your culture, or as close to it as possible, and leave the white people alone. That's just my personal advice or personal opinion, because they were always the most problematic. Because they like to cause chaos in everybody's lives and watch the shit fall apart. And it doesn't matter how smart they are, how many credentials they give themselves. This is part of who they are. And you can look at this through any period of history. It's just who they are. Because they are colonizers. So colonizers do not have any empathy for you. They cannot. All right? So anyway, when we as black women start teaching our sons, because these governments are trying to incorporate religion in school to try to teach the behavior that we have worked so hard to get rid of, right? They're trying to regain control through teaching religion to put into the minds of these kids, you are entitled to this little girl that's going to be a woman slave for you the rest of your life just because you are a male going to be a man. We have to get them to understand that is not the reality of things, okay? And not the way you should be doing things. And that the more you listen to them and how they think you should live, and the fact that you stand still, and when I say stand still, I mean you don't fight against them breaking the law to take away your rights to further benefit themselves more. And I'm not talking about no immigrant shit. I'm talking about like right now in Miami. The mayor of Miami, he violated the city charter and decided that he wanted to give himself another year as mayor. So he pushed the general elections that should have been coming up in this October of 25 to 26. Now that is illegal because it requires a vote from the public for that to happen, but they just decided they was going to do it anyway. So now these are the type of things I'm talking about. Okay, that's an example. And also, like here in New York City, what Bloomberg did when he was mayor, where they're only allowed legally in New York to be a mayor for 2 terms. He changed the law so he could have 3 terms to further make himself wealthy and empower himself. Stuff like that. When you get that person out, or you get enough people to vote against that and fight against that, you're supposed to work to change the law where that never happens again, and that no one is ever allowed to do that. Okay? Because that always is going to end up in, a really bad situation for everyone if people who you vote into office could just take it upon themselves to extend their term or give themselves more power. That's never good. That is what we're going through right now with this particular presidency. So, I mean, that's basically it, y'all. You got to teach your sons to be the type of men you want it to be in life for you to encounter. And you have to teach your daughters to protect herself and to understand that these boys and these men out here are not her friends. They're never going to give her this fairy tale real love that we have been brainwashed into believing that is real, because it's not. We have to teach our boys to see us as human and not to listen to the other males around them, because the males that are here today do not see women and girls as human. They see us as literally somebody to ejaculate to and to have desirable sex with. That is all they see us as. And the sooner women understand that, the better off we will be in protecting ourselves and our girls. The more women wake up, the more this government is going to try to make laws to push us down and empower the men. So women have to become very strategic in how they handle themselves, how they teach their girls to be strong, independent, confident, and resilient, and how they teach their sons to be the ones that also support, advocate, and protect, really protect little girls, their sisters, family members, moms, everybody else related to them, so that these other men who are already completely warped in their mind and have all this toxic masculinity because they want to be the master and they want women to be the slaves, you have to teach your sons that that is not going to work. Because in every slavery situation, the slaves always rebel and the master is always defeated. So you have, if you could get them to understand that the things that they see online, the things they hear in the music, is all conditioning to make them a person that is going to be miserable, not likable to women, end up really not having access to women at all, because regardless of how many laws they make, they're not going to be able to stop women from saying, I don't want to deal with men whatsoever. And that is going to further create more lonely dudes and little boys, young boys, because when women feel threatened and under attack, they begin to defend themselves and get defensive. And that is something that will really, make more of a gap between women and men. So if you want that to stop, you have to convince your sons that the mindset of males have to change. You have got to stop thinking that women are bitches and hoes, tricks, and whatever else you call us, and see us as human beings, and that we do not have to be with you. There is no law that says we're going to be with you. And even if there was, we won't do it anyway. And you have to respect the fact that women make a choice to be with you or not with you. And you have to learn to live life by yourself, for yourself. I mean, that's the best I could do for now, because that whole, I really hate when women get on here with the gloom and doom, and there's really no resolution to all of this talk about how things are so horrible. There's always a resolution. There's always a solution to the problem. And 9 out of 10 times, it comes down to how you think. If you say to yourself, I don't give a fuck what you create in this life, you will not conquer me, you will not be conquered. You will not. They could put all the religion in school they want and literally teach you women are now have less rights than a dog. And if you say, I don't agree with that, I don't believe that, and I'm not going to accept that, it won't happen. The more people rebel and do not comply, push back, and do what is right, you defeat the problem. You defeat white supremacy. You defeat capitalism. You defeat everything that tries to crush people and take away their humanity. That's the whole point of all of it. It is how you think. So when women who are the first teachers of children teach their sons, most importantly, and their daughters, that women and girls are to be respected. And if boys who are supposed to grow up to be men can be raised by women, because it's all about teaching those sons responsibility, reliability, and dependability, and self-confidence, resilience, they will be men. And you don't need to have a man showing them how to piss, showing them how to tuck their penis when they go take a shit. Women can teach them all of that. I have taught my sons that, in addition to whatever their fathers did. And I also taught my sons to never hold their head down, to always hold their heads up, look people straight in their eyes, mean what they say and say what the fuck they mean. And when you give your word, goddammit, your word is your motherfucking bond. That is what I used to drill into my sons' heads all the time. And to this day, they remember that shit, and that is part of their character. And those are the type of things you have to teach your sons. And black women, you also, in this climate where people are trying to push and I don't have nothing against it because I date interracially myself. When you have all of this interracial dating, you have to teach your sons they can choose other women, but the one woman that they're supposed to respect and love above all else is the one that looks exactly like their mama when they got a black mama. And that means everything. Like I taught my boys, when you see black women, you open doors for them. When they're struggling, you help them. If they're being harmed, you make sure that they're safe. I have always taught my sons that. And they do that to this day without me having to tell them, oh, go ahead, you know what you're supposed to do. And believe me, when you teach your sons well enough, they come back and tell you stories. Like my youngest son, he's in his early 30s. He's in the military, right? I didn't ask him this. He just came and told me this because we was just talking about stuff in general. So he was talking about some of the huge problems that face black women in the military and how the guys are very disrespectful and a lot of them are very sexually aggressive. And this is crazy because in the military, they actually give them medication to tone down their sexual prowess, right? So anyway, basically he was telling me something about their roll call, right? They were in formation and something happened. A black woman was talking and some white dude was really disrespectful to the black lady. Some shut up bitch or shut the fuck up you bitch, something like that. I can remember, right? So my son was like, well, hold on, don't ever fucking talk to her like that. And they got into it and my son had to deal with that dude. And so this is the type of thing that happens when you as mothers take your time and you teach your sons, regardless of what dumb shit or fuck shit their father is on and everybody else related to them, you have to be the strong enough mama. And fuck all that shit about them calling you masculine. You got to be the strong enough mother that stands up and goes, no, that shit gets no play over here. That is not happening, okay? No. If you're telling your son he's supposed to be one way, you cannot have all types of fuck motherfuckers around them that beat on women, talk shit about women, want to fuck children, like to molest little kids, like to intimidate women. You can't have that around your sons. You cannot. And if for whatever reason your son has to deal with them, like I said, through visitation or whatever, you have to constantly instill independent thought in that boy's mind. Meaning you got to always have conversations with them for them to be intellectually, and what y'all always say, emotionally intelligent. So they got to be able to have enough conversation with you, be taught a lot of stuff, and make your boys read, y'all. Read. That's one thing I always made. As soon as I taught them to read by using Dr. Seuss books, I had them reading out of newspapers. I showed them that the words are the same, whether they're in a children's book, a magazine, or a newspaper, or what I used to tell them when they was little, grown-up books, big people books, like novels, literature, etc. When they understand that as little kids, they realize that these words are the same in any particular thing they're in. They feel empowered. They feel like, oh, I'm a big person. I'm a little person, but I'm reading a big book like mommy does. Or I'm reading a newspaper like I see people on the train or in the bus or in the cafe or McDonald's, whatever, reading. I could do that too. That builds confidence in kids. And then they go on to further get stronger in their reading skills. They become way more literate. You understand? That is the type of things you got to do. You got to get out of all of this worrying about how you was raised and having issues with people who may have wronged you when you were a child. That shit is over. You're an adult now. Leave all that child shit, trauma and bullshit. Leave that in childhood. Take that fucking shit off. Become fresh. Become new. Wash your brain. And now you're an adult. Let's do things differently. Let's do things more positively. Do things beneficial for you and only fucking you. And get out of that mindset of thinking that you need validation from a dude. You need to be in relationships. You need to be married. All that shit is part of the problematic programming of this country and this world that keeps poverty going, keeps dysfunction going, and keeps these people that are in offices now able to get elected and to cause all of us, from wherever we come from, all of us non-white people, problems in our everyday lives, because we keep allowing them to be in control in our minds and in our government. Once you wake up and start taking control of your mind and your life, all this shit is over. And that's all I gotta say for right now.